This is the part where you're building that reputation, because, you know, in so much as people like Charles Strauss and Cory Doctorow like to talk about the reputation economy and how this is the greatest new thing, this is what Web 7.0 is going to look like. The reality is, we're already there. People know who you know and what you know, and word spreads. Whenever you screw up, you can bet that 25 people are going to know about it before the end of the day. And when you do something really good, you're going to have a hard time finding one person who hears about it. So to a greater or lesser extent, you're going to have to take care of it on your own. This is where in life-building seminars you hear the word networking. Again, with the pin drop. But you're doing good, right? You've done the team leader thing for a while. You've maybe even stirred around from a couple of organizations. This stuff is starting to make a whole lot of sense to you. And now all of a sudden you have to talk to people. Let's talk about perimeter defense. Let's not use any IT language at all. The word firewall becomes a swear word. Sorry, I'm just reviewing my notes here. How do you speak the language of the executives? Well, you need to articulate risk. These are people who are very good at managing risks within their own domains. They have no idea what your domain is, even though it's the key component of their business. How does SANS teach you to articulate risks? Anybody want to pipe up with that one? I was supposed to make you guys laugh. What is this? All right. Legal risk, regulatory risk, reputational risk. These are also known as orange jumpsuit, lose your house, look stupid. Help them understand that. If you go and tell them about legal risk, regulatory risk, and reputational risk, they have fallen asleep before you got to reputational. Talk to them about orange jumpsuits, losing their houses, and looking stupid. They'll start to resonate really, really easily. Of course, you're going to hear from them, none of the above. And you're going to have to listen to what they mean when they say none of the above. Because the reality is they do things that make themselves look stupid every single day. Play golf. You need to bridge your experience to their experience. So you have valuable experiences from having climbed up from the bottom. They have valuable experiences from having been born with a spoon in their mouth. Bridge those two experiences together into a cohesive whole. Mostly help them understand that you're there to talk to them about the risks that you experience based on their behavior. Damn, that thing's right there. Based on their behavior, less hand waving. That's your job, and they're going to really thank you for it at some point. The downside, you've read some books about finance. Now it's time to start taking some B school courses. We know that on your way through school, you took the kind of sideways road that I took, which included media arts, which, let me tell you, doesn't pay well. You don't have a B school background, it's time to generate one. Start taking courses, go to community schools, do all the right things. Please don't play golf. It's the sad truth. But don't tell me what I don't want to hear. You can wear the shirt on the inside, though. Often the day is where I've got one on under the suit. It's important. This is the classic. You've heard this from your career counselors as far back, probably as early high school. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. All right, underwear fetish talk in the fourth room. Just put on the damn suit, really. Keep the jacket in the closet at work so you don't have to wear it all the time, because probably you don't have a 100% wool suit at this point. It's terrifying but true. This is another one of those times where, just looking at the demographic of the room, girls could really help out. They do know how to dress you well. Ask for help. I'm sure you all know a girl or have heard of one. Mom. Note that you're undercover because you're still a geek and you're still a hacker, and they don't need to know that at all. It's a secret. I should give some cred. I may or may not have seen Johnny Long. That's how he does his presentations. Go see Johnny Long Sunday. Maintain your soul. This is going to be the hard part because you're in CorpSec now. I mean, you work in a glass building. You probably commute. You probably read the newspaper on purpose, not in the bathroom. Feed that inner hacker and realize that when you actually start making the money, getting to play with these things becomes not only fun but cheap. Highly recommended that you go to conferences, especially if somebody else is paying for them, and do the fun stuff. You've earned it at this point. Except, got nothing on the except. Okay, we'll go back to this part. You guys know about passive aggressive behavior? Yes? Mom. This is going approximately twice as fast as I'd wanted to. Have I been talking really, really fast? No. No? Okay. 136 slides not enough for you people? Oh, sorry, that was passive aggression just coming out there. They will treat you like crap. Sort of get used to that. You will be the butt of most of the jokes, and you will be the butt of matrix management. Everybody know what matrix management is? I have 4 bosses. I'd love to be kidding you. I have 4 bosses. Each one of them thinks that they have a hold on 100% of my time. They are all wrong. You really need to be paying attention to this part. If you start wanting to be like them, and that's okay, maintain your contacts. Now, this is the hard part, right? This is the, once you've been in an organization and you've spent some time working there and you've moved up and moved out and moved onward, you need to remember that you're going to encounter those people again. Most of you are from cities, I presume. There's not a whole lot of InfoSec going on in cow country, although there should be. You know how the industries are really small? You know everybody who's doing InfoSec in your city? If you're from the city I am from, you know everybody who's doing InfoSec. It's very incestuous. You're going to keep running into these same people over and over again. That sales guy named Bob from vendor A, he's going to be at vendor B next year, and the circle's going to go around. You may end up working for someone who used to work for you. Everyone's on a different trajectory. Theirs may be a little sharper than yours. Mostly don't be forgettable. Of course, none of you are going to remember me after today. That's all right. Avoid jerk, which is really hard for pretty much every InfoSec guy I know. Yeah. Everybody know about professional organizations for this kind of stuff? Your SANS groups, your not a CISSP groups. Those professional organizations offer you a lot of those networking linkages, a lot of those places where you can loop it back around. Be careful though, sometimes they will bite you later on. How so? Sometimes they end up being tarred with a brush that you don't necessarily want to be tarred with. There's a reason why I wear my not a CISSP badge, because in the particular vertical that I'm in the particular geographic area that I'm in, the government is retraining people who've lost their jobs as CISSPs. The same thing they did with MCSEs about 10 years ago, they're not doing with CISSPs. I don't know exactly why this is okay with ISC2, but it's happening, and we're getting a lot of paper CISSPs through the door. So it's just one particular example from one particular geographic location, but when you get the resume and the person doesn't have the cred to be able to answer the simple questions, how does a firewall process rules? And you don't get an answer, then you kind of know you're stuck with somebody who really doesn't know what they're talking about. That's my, without really dunning anyone too hard, be careful about professional organizations. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great. Good answer? I can kind of see you nodding. Okay. This is the part where you get into the mentoring role. You should have been there kind of all along, but now you're going to be in charge of a fairly large group of people, hopefully, who are all back at step one. You're going to at least know lots of them. Even though you're busy, take the time to mentor them. There should be a few who you know who give you sort of hints and clues about what's going on at the bottom, which are hints and clues you need to understand what's going on because you've finally made it to the top. You're probably ready at this point. You know, you've done the work, you've got the business credentials, you've moved on. It's time to start hanging out with the C-suite, the chiefs. You've got the reputation. Everybody knows you. You know, if somebody says, hey, I'd really like to get together and do this cool kind of project. I'm going to need some help with this. Who's the right person to help me with this? Your name comes up, you're good to go. At this point, often too, you're writing the job descriptions for the job that you'll have, which is kind of nice now and then. You also get to say, this is how much money I need to earn. It's not so much about which band you're in or whether or not somebody's interested in giving you money for that, mostly because they have no idea what you do. But you're there to help them, you're there to fix them, you're there to hack them. And then you get to do it again with a bigger company or a government. Please send me a nice postcard. And with the last 15 minutes, Q&A. You always wanted to talk to a CISO. What do you need to know? Questions? I saw a hand.
Yes. As far as you start getting into the area where you talk about moving up into, say, your first management job.
Yes.
Do you have any recommendation as to what particular type of management job are you talking? Would anything suffice, or is it more of like a program manager or a group manager, or what kind of management specifically would be a good starting point?
A good starting point is any starting point, frankly, because you're still at that proving your cred point of view. Do you have what it takes to do, sorry, I should go back one full step. Most organizations don't have dual track management. Most organizations don't have technical track, where you just deal with people on whether or not they're doing their job, and a separate human management track. You know, that's very 22nd century, and I hope we'll get there someday. Most organizations are integrated, so not only do you have to manage people doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, but you also have to pat their fuzzy little head and make them feel better and deal with benefits and holidays and sick time and all of that stuff. So that first sort of team lead position is probably going to be more technical than anything. It's going to be less line manager, but the first chance you can get line manager, so you can say, you know, in a very Lumbergh kind of way, you're going to have 7 people under you. That's an org chart reference. It's not something that belongs in a talk in the 4th room. Once you get to that point where you're able to say, yes, I've had 10 people working for me, or I had a team of 22. You know, once you're at that kind of point, that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying you're sort of at that first real management job, where you're in a position where you're not able to do a lot of the work. You know, think about technocentric kind of work versus business focused kind of work. Technocentric kind of work you're doing as well as managing. Business focus, you're managing, other people are doing. And that's that sort of critical gap where you're losing your cred because you're not touching the equipment anymore, you're not dealing with the policies, you're not actually contributing